Something's fishy.
Hey guys, I'm Shark Zone, and in today's video, we will be covering the top 15 best champions for beginners in League of Legends Season 10. These champs are designed to where you don't have to play many games to understand them and can start winning right away. So for the most part, this video is for anyone in Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold, or haven't even hit level 30 yet. Almost every champ on this list will be useful no matter what mid-game and aren't mechanically difficult. I will be covering 3 champs in each role, and I've tried to add as much diversity possible so that way I won't be talking about the same class of champ over and over. Every role will be timestamped in the description below. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video and follow me on twitch.tv where you can watch me play this game live. First off, we're going to talk about top laners. The class that's the easiest to get the hang of top is tanks. They may not have the most carry potential, but will provide your team the most reliable aid for when the mid-game teamfights start. The first easiest champ I want to talk about top lane is Maokai. He's a full tank that is super effective at being a frontline meat shield and at the same time dealing crowd control stunning enemy targets. Early game, your goal is just to farm to the best of your abilities and set up ganks for your junglers if they come. Most of the time, the meta top lane bruisers will outclass you early game, making you a little bit behind, but as the game goes on and you build more and more defense, you will be able to win those duels. It's not like there's no carry potential at all on this champ because you could set up killer picks mid game with your R and root the most important target on the enemy team long enough for your team to focus them to death. This champ also teaches you about prioritization, a key factor in League of Legends games that must be learned. There's usually 2 options or goals you want to accomplish on Maokai, which is whether or not you want to focus the most important target in team fights, or peel back for the most important target on your team. For example, if there's a fed enemy assassin on the other team like Talon and you have a fed ADC on yours, you may want to think about utilizing your CC abilities to try to prevent the Talon from one-shotting your marksman. Next champ on this list is mainly a tank but can be classified as a bruiser. Sion takes a spot on this list because he's such an easy champ to execute and at the same time teaches you a lot about the game. Your laning phase is mediocre, but once you're able to pick up an item or 2, that's when you're able to deal some serious damage and at the same time you're still really tanky. I like playing Sion because when you're behind you could build full tank, which is of course useful to your team. But if somehow you get ahead, you could build bruisery carry items like Titanic Hydra or Sterak's Gauge. There's a full lethality Instinct Sion strat that is still semi-viable to this day, and you could do research on it after you've learned Sion to a basic level. Let's say you're split pushing on Sion and there's a fight mid. All Sion has to do is press R, then he'll run full speed mid to hopefully get a stun on their backline. After, he knocks them up with a fully charged Q, dealing tremendous damage and winning his team the team fight. That right there is the power of Sion and how he can have such a strong impact. Final champ for the top lane was a debate between Garen and Darius, but for this video, Darius will take a spot on this list because he's a better version of him in most situations. Darius is the most fun carry champ you could be playing as a beginner because of his simplistic kit. First off, let's say you know nothing about Darius besides mashing buttons. If you go the recommended bruiser build, as long as you're able to get your 5 stacks on whether you land your abilities or not, you deal tremendous amount of true damage from your passive. Using your R as an execute when you have 5 stacks on your passive will allow you to dunk all over the enemy team with the possibility of getting a pentakill. Darius is a very lane dominant champion who wins many of his melee matchups, and once he gets ahead, he can 1v9 carry, either split pushing the whole time, drawing tons of attention away from objectives, or team fighting if the situation calls for it. Since I'm assuming you're playing with new players or very inexperienced ones, there's so much cheese potential on Darius starting level 1 if you know your limits. Now that we're talking about junglers, the criteria for being for beginners is that they have really healthy clears and a very simple kit. The first champ I want to talk about is Warwick. Warwick is the #1 champ that will teach you the fundamentals about jungle next to Nunu. He can do everything from counter jungling, ganking, and soloing Dagger Rift easily. You pretty much can never die to your jungle camps since your Q sustains you for so much, and if dying from clearing is an issue for you, then this might be the perfect champ. What many people love about Warwick is his chase ability since he has W. Running at people, whether it's for a gank or looking for a pick, his movement speed makes it 2 times easier to accomplish. If you're always playing versus junglers who stomp you early game, Warwick will be the person doing the stomping since he has great duel potential. You do have to keep in mind that he isn't meant for the late game, so you have to transition that early game lead you will get into a victory. The next champ I want to talk about is Amumu, probably the most known noob friendly jungler by the community. The main reason why he excels in the jungle, usually in the lower ranks, is because he doesn't have to worry about getting counter jungled as much. Full clears are very common, and if you're playing Amumu, the longer the game goes, the better. If you can survive your first clear, then you're able to gank nicely with your Q stun or power farm your way to level 6. Once you hit level 6, this is the game changer because with a single click of a button, you can win your team early fights. Your R is a huge AoE route where the enemies have to stand in place for 2 seconds, which will make all the difference between a win and a loss. The thing to note is that when you're playing against inexperienced players, their positioning will be pretty bad, and if you're going full tank, you could literally just walk up to them and press R on their backline. Even if you fail to do that, you're drawing all the enemy's carry's attention away from your team and they're just focusing you. The better you get at Amumu, the more Rs you will be able to land from your Q leap skill shot. The last jungler I want to mention is more of a carry focused jungler whose name is Vi. Vi is similar to Warwick in how she's designed for the early game. If you're looking to carry bad teammates, she's the way to go because of the amount of raw damage she can output. Running around the map, punching anyone in her way is what she's known for, and providing a decent amount of single target CC. Again, like the other champs, you could either go a full tanky build relying more on your base damage, or a heavy bruiser AD build if you're looking to make a serious 1v9 impact. Even if you fall behind early game, you could still be a great help to your team because you'll be the frontline tank and a great source of CC to focus the enemy marksman. I strongly suggest you try to get ahead early game though, since games tend to be easily won after you get a snowball started. Once you start learning your jungle matchups more and more, you will be able to determine whether or not you could fight for Scuttle Crab early on into the game or look to counter jungle if there's an opening. Now that we're talking about mid lane, this is the lane where the most diverse class of champions will be, and in many people's eyes are the most difficult. Typically, the ones who will have the easiest time are the ones who can wave clear exceptionally well and scale towards the mid to late game. The first champ we're going to cover is Annie. Annie has been known for a long time as a powerful mid lane champion who has a strong presence mid game with her AoE stunts. If you struggle with farming, Annie is a champ you may want to think about because her Q resets off minion kills. Roughly 15 minion kills equals a champion kill, so if you're playing in a rank where people are averaging 70 CS by the 20-minute mark, then you will literally double their CS and have so much extra gold. You can utilize the extra gold to buy more AP and burst. Mid to late game is where you shine the hardest with your flash R engaged onto the enemy carries, and I get that this may be tricky to pull off in the first place for some players, but literally once you're able to get that down, I guarantee you will at least make it to silver. You will notice that any rank below gold 4 is generally a 5v5 mid ARAM, which is why the team with the stronger mid lane has the stronger upper hand. They hold the most carry potential because they will have the majority of their team's damage. If you can flash R onto 3 of the enemy target's backline, that will allow your team to follow up easily, or you could just one-shot them as a whole if you have a CS lead. Annie will teach you the fundamentals about farming and having good map awareness since you're immobile and can die from ganks. The next champ I want to talk about is a champ that doesn't take above 50 IQ to carry, and his name is Malzahar. Another one of those champs where you're just farming early game. The extra bonus shield you get from your passive will keep you safe from hard engages their jungler might do to you. Literally just shove in waves with your E and try to have a high CS count. Once you're able to pick up your first item, preferably Luden's Echo, once again, all you're doing is shoving in waves with your E and W. Almost always, once your E kills the whole wave, then it'll start damaging your enemy target. When they get low enough, press R and boom, equals an easy kill. You would think I'm over exaggerating on how easy it is to play this champ until you've literally experienced playing with or against it. Even in the LCS, he's sometimes played and is effective at controlling games with this simple strategy. In teamfights, I wish I could say anything different, but all you're doing is trying your best to run up to the most important target and pressing R. The suppression can be countered by an item called QSS, but I don't think you have to worry about that till you reach low gold. The last champ I want to talk about is a little bit different from the previous two since she's an assassin. An assassin that probably is the easiest assassin in the game called Diana. Now the class assassin to play to an advanced level, you need to know a lot about game knowledge, but that will come with time as you keep playing. Diana is weird because she has no game-winning skill shot to be landed like a Fizzar or unique engage like Echo. She's just a semi-tank who point and click dashes in and deletes enemy squishy targets. The reason why she's the first assassin I highly recommend any new player to pick up is because she will teach you a lot about poking down enemies in lane with Q, then looking for all-in opportunities. The Q sure is an essential to land since it's your source of wave clear and poke, but you will have many tries to land it since how low of a cooldown it's on. I want to say that it's one of the easier skill shots to land, and once you get the hang of it, that's pretty much all the difficulty there is to Diana. Roaming is something Diana is pretty good at once she gets R, so shove and roaming is a playstyle you might want to learn about. She does skill late game, and if you fall behind, as long as your CS score isn't that bad, you can always be useful to your team. If you're behind and have somewhat of a tanky build like Rod of Ages and Zonius, you're going to play the fight like a normal assassin where you try to dash onto their most important target, but also you're playing as your team's second frontline tank. Now that we're talking about ADCs / codename attack damage carries, I want to give 2 spots to similar champions. Jinx and Caitlyn belong on this list because of their simple natures of their kit. I prefer Jinx being higher than Caitlyn if you're in lower ranks because she scales harder with her AoE rockets. They both are ADCs who auto attack and never use their abilities in teamfights since it actually makes them do less damage. If you learn how to position and farm properly, then you've already learned them to a gold level. Easier said than done, but if you're able to nail these ADCs down, since games stall out so long into the late game when nobody knows how to end, auto, and eventually you will win your games. Now the third ADC I want to talk about is actually pretty different from the other 2 ADCs I've mentioned before because she does her damage from using her abilities instead of auto attacks. Miss Fortune is a very unique ADC whose main damage in teamfights comes from her pressing R and melting everyone. Your passive love tap makes you do more damage whenever you auto a different target, which makes farming that much more easier for you on an ADC. With such lane dominant poke and damage, she is, in many people's eyes, the most fun to play. Now that we're talking about supports, it's very similar to ADCs where the first 2 are so much alike. Sona and Soraka take a spot on this list because of how simplistic they are and pretty much do the same job of healing their allies while they do all the work. If you're looking for more of an early game single target focused healer, then Soraka will be best, but if you're looking for more of a late game team healer, then Sona's best. Typically in lower ranks until platinum, Sona will be better since games tend not to end quickly and that will guarantee you to buy 2 or 3 items. The game will shift as soon as Sona picks 2 items and doesn't run out of mana quickly. Literally all poke mage and champions will have a hard time doing their job because you heal all the damage they put out, not at the expense of your own HP like Soraka. If you want the simpler champ out of the 2, then Soraka everyone will agree is really easier to play since all you're doing is pressing W on your allies. As you learn more and more about Soraka, you can start to try to play aggressive, landing aggressive Qs in lane and using your E to benefit your team the most. Now the last support I want to talk about is more of a tanky CC one, and her name is Leona. If you're looking for a super carry playstyle and want to make an impact, then Leona is the way to go. If you've gotten ahead early game, she literally has the damage to 1v1 the enemy ADC mid game if she's tanky enough. Your main goal is to wait until level 2 or 3, then CC the enemy squishy target for a very long time until your ADC finishes them off to death. You could play with your jungler and do really nice roams, or just keep expanding your lead bot, always looking for bad positioning from the enemies. Either way, she has 2 skill shots, but eventually you will understand how to land them after 10 games or so. Anyways guys, I really hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, please smash that like button because it would really help me out a lot. Comment what you want me to make next, and subscribe to see more like this in the future. Again, make sure to follow me on twitch.tv where you can watch some of these videos live. I'm SharkZone here with another video, and I'm out. Peace!